The people in government who want to buy Kenya pipeline shares, don't call yourself a regional investor based in Uganda. We know you, it is you.
Something wild is happening in Kenyan politics, and if you're not paying attention, you are about to lose billions. And the person exposing it is Dindi Nyoro. He just stood up on January 28 in Embu and basically said, "They are about to rob you and I'm not going to stay silent." If you don't know about this, let me give you the full tea of what exactly is happening with the Kenya Pipeline Company, because what I'm about to tell you involves fake Ugandan investors wanting to rob Kenya 106 billion. This is the KPC scandal and it's happening right now.
So I want to tell those people who are giving us lectures about what we are doing with the IPO on Kenya Pipeline or Safaricom, they should spare us their political conmanship and intellectual deceit.
So let's start. If you don't know what is happening, let me bring you up to speed. The government is selling Kenya Pipeline Company, the KPC. You know, the company that controls fuel distribution across the country, the company that owns the pipelines from Mombasa to Nairobi, then to Eldoret, and to everywhere. It is a strategic national asset. The government is selling 65% of it. That's roughly 11.81 billion shares. And they are doing it through something called an initial public offering, an IPO. The shares are priced at 9 Kenyan shillings each, and they are trying to raise it to 106 billion. That's over 100 billion shillings. Let's note this number carefully because they make the entire difference. The IPO opened on January 19th and runs until February 19th, 2026. So right now, as you're watching this, shares are being sold. The government says that this money will go into infrastructure development. We are talking about roads, railways, and whatever. And they say it will help reduce Kenyans' public debt. Sounds great, right? Selling a national asset to raise money for development. Except here's the problem. The way they have structured this sale is basically designed for theft. And Dindi Nyoro just told us exactly how.
Is let us open this bid to international bidders. And we lose nothing. If Kenya gets an additional 150 billion, I thought the mileage will go to government. They'll build more roads. So, I mean, everyone benefits.
Here's how the shares are supposed to be allocated. 60% for Kenyan investors, that's you and me, ordinary Kenyans who want to buy shares in KPC. Then 20% for foreign investors, that's international companies or individuals from the outside. We are talking about East Africa. And 20% for regional investors, that's supposed to be people from Uganda, Tanzania, South Africa, those countries. Except, according to Dindi Nyoro, that 20% regional investor allocation is where the scam is. Because these regional investors, they are not actually Ugandan. They're not even Tanzanians, they are Kenyans. Specifically, they are the powerful people in government right now. People in Ruto's government. People with inside information, and they are going to buy those shares pretending to be Ugandans.
You are allocating 20 to 25% on something you are calling regional investors. And you are talking about Uganda. The people in government who want to buy Kenya pipeline shares, don't call yourself a regional investor based in Uganda. We know you, it is you.
Dindi Nyoro said it himself, and I quote, "You are allocating 20 to 25% to what you call regional investors, and you are talking about Uganda. We know that it is the people in the government of Kenya who want to buy these shares in the name of regional investors in Uganda." So someone might be listening to this and might not understand what this really means. Let me break it down for you. These government officials can't just buy shares openly as Kenyans because people will ask questions like, where did you get the money from? And why are you buying it for so much? Isn't that a conflict of interest? So instead, they set up companies in Uganda and they use something called proxies. That is Ugandan friends, business partners, and shell companies registered in Kampala. And on paper, those companies buy the shares, but the real owners are Kenyans. Government insiders, by disguising themselves as regional investors, they get preferential access. They're not competing with ordinary Kenyans for the 60%. They have their own 20% pool. so there is less competition and it is easier to grab large chunks. And because they are foreign investors, they can claim they are bringing in outside money, boosting regional integration, all that PR nonsense, but it's a big scam. It's Kenyans stealing from Kenyans while pretending to be Ugandans. Dindi Nyoro didn't just make vague allegations, he was very specific. He said, "Many Kenyans want to understand their assets, and I am willing to be on the front line to explain to Kenyans what is happening to the KPC shares." This is huge because Dindi is not opposition. He's not some critic on the outside throwing stones. He's in the inside. He's part of Ruto's team, or at least he was. And for him to come out publicly and say this, it means one of two things. Either he's genuinely trying to protect Kenyans, or number two, he's been cut out of the deal and he's pissed. Either way, what he is saying is very explosive and he's not wrong. This kind of scam has happened before. Do you remember the Safaricom IPO? Do you remember those stories of how connected people grabbed shares through proxies?
This issue of listing Safaricom came up even when I was in the corridors of power. So it's not something new to me. And therefore, whatever I'm saying is just to remind even the people who are there today. But there were better proposals than now. Why are we falling back to inferior proposals? The proposal which I would give, which even them they know.
Remember how ordinary Kenyans struggled to get allocations while insiders walked away with millions of shares? It is the same playbook. And it has worked because most of people don't understand how IPOs function. They just see buy shares and make money, and they rush in without asking who else is buying and how much they are taking. But Dindi went further. He warned Kenyans that the share price will collapse right after the IPO. That ordinary investors, you and me, could lose everything. He said people should be very careful. You might ask, why will Dindi say that? Because he knows something. He knows that this IPO is not about raising money for infrastructure. It's about transferring a national asset to private hands. And once that transfer is complete, their prices can do whatever. If it crashes, ordinary Kenyans can lose. But the insiders, they already got what they wanted. They have control, they have ownership, and they have access to fuel distribution, the ability to influence prices, and to make money not from the share price appreciation, but from the actual business operations. And that is the real price they are after. Do you understand this so far? Type "I get it" in the chats. Now let's go to the phase where Ruto comes in. President William Ruto responded to Dindi's allegations, and his response was interesting. He did not deny the structure of the IPO. He didn't address the fake Ugandan investor concern. Instead, he attacked Dindi personally. He called Dindi's concerns political conmanship and intellectual deceit aimed at misleading Kenyans. And that tells you something. Ruto is not explaining something. He is calling Dindi a liar.
So I want to tell those people who are giving us lectures about what we are doing with the IPO on Kenya Pipeline or Safaricom, they should spare us their political conmanship and intellectual deceit. We don't need it. We want to move the country forward.
Ruto says that this sale is part of his plan to raise 5 trillion shillings for the National Infrastructure Fund and for the Sovereign Wealth Fund. He says it's part of the journey to Singapore. You've probably heard that. Turning Kenya into a first world economy. And it seems very nice. But it does not answer the question, who is actually buying these shares? And if regional investors are supposed to be Ugandans, why can't the government just publish the list of buyers, show us the Ugandan companies, and prove that they are real? Prove they are not Kenyans proxies. And Ruto won't do that. And that should tell you everything. By the way, if you don't understand anything here, please understand this. KPC, Kenyan Pipeline Company, is very valuable. Very valuable. It's not just pipes in the ground. It controls over the fuel distribution all over the country. Whoever owns KPC has leverage over the entire economy. We are talking about fuel prices, transportation cost, logistics, everything. And right now, KPC is a government owned, which means theoretically it serves public interest. But once it's privatized, once it's controlled by private shareholders, profit becomes the priority, not public service. profit. And if those private shareholders are the government insiders, people who are supposed to be regulating the industry, you might have a massive conflict of interest. They regulate themselves, set their own prices, and they will award themselves contracts. It's a recipe for disaster, and Kenyans will pay a huge price. Literally, we are talking about higher fuel cost, higher transportation cost, and higher cost of living. And they made this to be very legal. The government is not breaking any laws. They are using the ignorance of Kenyans. They are using a legal framework to do this. IPO rules, regional investor allocations. We are talking about shell companies, proxies. All of this is legal. And this is the reason why Dindi is so frustrated, because he can see the scam. He can explain the scam, but he can't stop it because it's built into the system. The only way to stop this is public pressure. Kenyans refusing to participate, and Kenyans demanding transparency. Kenyans asking the hard questions. Who are these Ugandan investors? This is what Dindi is telling them. Show us the company registration documents. Show us the source of funds. Show us the proof that they are actually Ugandan. But most Kenyans would ask these questions because, let's be honest, a lot of Kenyans don't know even what is an IPO. Most Kenyans are even just trying to survive. They are trying to make rent, and they are just trying to feed their families. They don't have time to audit an IPO structure. And honestly, most Kenyans don't understand it. And the people running this scam know that, and they are counting on it. So there's been a legal pushback. Kalonzo Musyoka filed a court case. Then Martha Karua filed a case as well. Opposition leaders. And all of them, they are arguing that privatization lacks public participation, that the asset valuation is wrong, that Kenyans are being sold something valuable for cheap. Because 9 shilling per share, is that the real value? Or is it underpriced so that these insiders can buy cheap and profit later? There is no transparency. There is no independent valuation that has been made public. And it's just happening very fast. Before people can understand what is going on, by the time ordinary Kenyans figure out what happened, it's already done. Shares have been sold, ownership transferred, and the game is over. Literally. So where does this leave Dindi Nyoro? That's the real question. Because he just went against Ruto publicly. He just exposed a scam that benefits Ruto's people. They are going to take control of a national asset, and they are going to do it legally, using the rules they wrote for their benefit. So you might be asking, so what do I do? If you are thinking about buying KPC shares, ask yourself, who else is buying? How much are they buying for? And what happens to the price after the IPO closes?
Asking me, Teras, wewe unanunua KPC? Nimeulizwa na watu wengi hivyo sana. Unanunua share ya pipeline? I can't tell you what to do. Because markets, even your own stockbroker cannot tell you what to buy. Because they can tell you in good faith, and then the market misbehaves. Because the markets are not just fundamental.
Can you afford to lose that money? Because Dindi Nyoro, the guy who's supposed to be selling you on this deal, just told you to be very careful. That should tell you something. If the insider is warning you, the scam must be really bad. Bad enough that even he can't defend it. Bad enough that staying silent will destroy whatever credibility he has left. So he spoke, and now you know. The KPC, the Kenyan pipeline company, is being sold. 106 billion shillings, that's 65% ownership, and a huge chunk of it is going to the government insiders pretending to be Ugandans. That's the scam, and that is the plan. And unless something changes, unless Kenyans demand transparency, unless the court stops it, it's going to happen right now before your eyes. This month, before February 19th, the clock is ticking, guys, and your national asset is being sold to the highest bidder. Except the highest bidders are the same people who are supposed to be protecting it. Welcome to Kenya, where even the guy defending the scam can't keep a straight face anymore. And by the way, like this video so more people can see it. Subscribe if you want more honest breakdowns like this. And this is the Diary of Africa, and I love you.